Welcome to part 2 of WD06 research paper exercise. We went over the overview on the first video. On this video, we're just going to start doing the work. So we're going to open up our file that we downloaded, and here's the file that I downloaded. I already saved it with my last name. I put Smith J on here because that's the way it is on the sample. For some reason it puts a capital M there even when I change it. But I'm going to open this up, and it should be the unformatted version, and it should open up in Word, and here it is in Word, and this is what it looks like to start. This is on Word on Windows. I started off showing you the Mac version, and what I'm going to do here is just kind of follow my instructions on the sheet. First thing I'm going to do is change my margins. I always recommend doing that first before you get into the text and all that stuff. Always change your margins. So we're going to do that under page layout, and we're going to change our margins over here, and we're just going to make it 1 inch all around, which is just normal. And you should see your margins change on that side. You could also see them change over here. Remember, if you don't have your rulers out, go to View and check ruler, make sure that that's checked. Another thing you also might want to check under your Home tab is just make sure that your invisibles or your Show Hide button is checked to see your formatting marks, and that way you can see where there's returns, because you don't want to have any extra returns when you do this paper. And the next part of what we're going to do, that was number 2, was reset all the margins. Number 3 is actually changing all the font to 12-point Times New Roman. So to do that, we've done this before, just click your cursor anywhere and do Control A, which selects everything, and then go up here to your Home tab and just go find Times New Roman. If it's recently used, that'll be easier to find. Sometimes you could just type in T and then you'll find it. I'll make it Times New Roman. It's 14. I'll make it 12. And that's what I want right now. Everything's Times New Roman. And again, if an instructor says you could use Cambria or a different serif font, then that's fine, but we'll use Times New Roman right now. Everything's 12-point. And we'll stay away from any bold italic until it's time to use some of that. Now the next step on here is make all text double spaced, and I'm going to do that while everything's still highlighted. So everything's still highlighted here to make it double spaced, and I could go into a couple places I could do this. I could go into my paragraph settings and open that up and change it here, down here, line spacing. I could make it double. That's one place I could do it, and I'll cancel that. And another place, just like on the Mac version, they have line spacing here. I could make it 2.0. So with everything highlighted, I can make it 2.0, and that's what you want. Update the title page info on here right now, and that means put your name here, and that means and remove brackets. So I'm going to put Jack Smith, because that's what I used on the sample. So I'll just act like I'm Jack Smith, and I'll keep Professor Richard Homa. I'll be the professor too. And whatever your section is, maybe your CSC 102 M1. And then today's date. Now insert today's date. I'm going to go over here and highlight this this whole section. Now typically it shows a white arrow, but for some reason on this version that I'm using on my Mac with parallels, it doesn't show the white arrow. It shows the cursor. But anyway, it still highlights. It could still highlight multiple paragraphs. So that's what I'm doing. I'm highlighting off to the left here. And what I want to do here is do the insert and insert today's date. So I'm going to go insert. We did this before on our business letter exercise. I'm going to go date and time. And I'm going to choose the date. I'm just going to choose the simple date, which is, they have names for these like short date. I'm going to use the one that just has the date and the year. So right today it's September 3rd, so I'm going to use that. I don't have to put the day that I'm doing this. And there may be different ways you could do this. Your instructor may let you use, slashes and things like that, but I'm going to use it just like I would use it on a letter, or if you see some other kind of MLA reference that tells you to do it a different way. But I'm going to do it this way right now. And now this part here, I'm going to center this. So before I do anything, and this is number 6, so I'm going to center this line, and I'll do that from my Home tab, and I'll just hit my center icon just to center that. Be careful not to do your first line indent, because you don't want a first line indent in addition to a center, because then it would throw it off a little bit. So I'm just going to remove the title bracket. You don't need that. That was just there to indicate that it's the title, but please remove that so that it's centered nicely. So this is kind of the top part here. You can apply a first line indent from everything on down. So if you highlight all the way down through the rest of your document, so I highlighted everything down, if you do a first line indent, that'll indent basically the first line of every paragraph. Now sometimes people use a tab to start off each paragraph, but if you do this, that way you're assured it's doing it for each paragraph. So a first line indent, you could do that by opening up your paragraph settings and going in here to special and doing first line and making that 0.5. You could do it like that. Now I'm going to cancel just to show you a different way, but you can do it that way. I'm going to cancel it. Another way to do it is grab this top little arrow here And if you hover over it, it should show you first line indent. There it is. I'm going to move that over to a 1/2 inch. Now, if you have problems reading a ruler, then do it the other way, but that's a 1/2 inch. It's halfway between the one, so that's a first line indent. And with everything highlighted on down, you could see it did it to every time there's a new paragraph. And there's a new paragraph every time you hit a enter key or create a paragraph return. So that's why it does that. So it's very important that you hit returns when you're typing a paper, as necessary, and remove them as necessary. Don't do that to break lines. Okay, so that's kind of our first part of this. So we have all our first line indents, and now we're going to do the header with the page number up here. And there's different ways to do this. And you can just double click. You could do it a couple ways. You could do insert. You could do insert and you could do header. That'll start you off by creating a header, and you could just do blank. And you could go in here. Now, I'll do it this way because a couple things I want to point out here. Now, if you do this, you can see it's putting in an extra return. What you're going to do is I'm just going to put in Smith. Let's say you're going to type Smith, and then you're going to do a space and then do a page number. Now, in order to do a page number, you could go over here while you're still in here in these header footer tools. You could go to page number, and you might just think, oh, well, top of page. I'll just use that and do the one over here. But if you do that, it's going to wipe out what you just typed. If you already typed your name, just use current position and just use plain, because what it'll do is it'll just put the page number right after your name. And then what you can do is you can go back to your home tab and you could align it right. Also, make sure that this is in Times New Roman. Make sure that it's not Cambrian. Look, it's in Cambria. They look very similar, but make sure this is in Times New Roman. I don't know if you'd fail your paper for doing that, but you don't want any problems like that. So make sure that this is also in Times New Roman, even though it is a serif font. Make sure it's 12 point. So that's what you could do. Now, another thing you can do, just to show you a different way, just because, sometimes this messes people up. I'll get out of here. If you go into your header, remember, you could just double click into your header, or I guess I'll do insert header. If I wanted to do this, if I went in here and then I said, well, I'm going to put my page number in first, you could go top of page and you could make it aligned right, and you could put your page number in first. If you put your page number in first, then what you could do is just hit a space and then put your name and make sure that you have a space between the number, and you could do it that way. So that's another way to do that. But either way, make sure the important thing is make sure you get your page number in there and you're not just typing a number 1. I'll try to get rid of this, although it doesn't seem like it's getting rid of any space when I do that. So that's the way you want it. So there's a couple ways you could do that, but just you need your last name and you need a page number in there. And that will show up on every single page, and if you did the page number right, it should change to 2 and to 3 as you go down, and your name should stay the same. So you're not typing in 2, 3, 4, whatever, you're typing in insert page number. So that's the way that works. And again, make sure, I'll try it again here, see it's Cambria, make sure that it's Times New Roman. That whole thing is Times New Roman 12 point. So we're good with that. And if you'd ever want to remove that from the title page, you can do that. They even have these header footer tools in here. They have something called different first page. And if you check that, it actually hides it. It doesn't delete it. It just hides it from the first page. So if for whatever reason your instructor said, we don't want a page number on the first page, it doesn't look as much like a title page, you could remove it and use different first page. You don't delete it because it would delete it on every page. Use different first page. And you could do that from here. And also page layout has a place where you could go into to set it up to. I think there's a place where if you go into custom margins and you go to, I think it's layout, they have different first page. They have another place where you could do it there and you can see it's checked. So if I'd uncheck it here and hit OK, it'd bring it back. So there's 2 places to do that, but we'll leave it in for now, even though on the one sample I think I have it off. So we'll leave in our page number on our first page, not to create any confusion. So that's our formatting for our document. That's basically step 1 through 9. I think step 9 is actually remove the header from the first page if you want to, but I'll leave that as optional. So number 9 will be optional, whether you want to leave that or not. But I'll just leave that in there for the instructions. Okay, so moving on, we're going to work with the citations. So what I'm going to do, I think I'm going to take a break here and just end this video so it's not so long, and then we'll do the citations and the works cited on part 3 of the video.